Starting to look like a real town now, huh? And what's a town without people? More importantly, what's a secret without people to keep them? I'm so excited for this place, and, well, things are about to get a lot more exciting, because there's a kitty! Hi, kitty! What are you doing here? Hey, come on, wait, come over here, come over here, come here. Let's let you inside. I did not mean to do that. I don't know why right-clicking did that. Come on. Yes, right this way. Whatever, you're a jungle cat. You don't mind the weather. You're a tiger. Look at you. And you apparently have the ability to make the rain stop. Okay. Well, anyway. Hello, everyone! And welcome back, once again, to Minecraft. Creepy and comfy creative world. And we have made some changes here, added some additional mods. Something is sort of screwed up here. Okay, I've gone and fixed that. I just had a couple of things that needed to be updated for this to work. And yeah, we have a number of additional tools here to help us not only build with new blocks, but also to make things a little bit more cinematic. For example, I have bound the cinematic view key that I just found out about to a button on my mouse. And we've also installed a mod that allows us to quite cinematically zoom. There we go. Now we can simulate greater focal length and get that nice background compression. Oh, look at how cool that is. We can even zoom. I mean, with the scroll wheel. Okay, kitty, what are you up to? Alright, well, obviously we're going to make you into a pet. Hang on, I think we have to give you fish? Here. No, do I have to hand it to you? There you are! Aw, now you're a tame kitty. Okay, you can live over here. I mean, I don't know if you would actually want to... Oh, never mind. Huh. Yeah, I've heard the term before, like herding cats. Are you actually gonna follow me? I mean, I just don't want you getting lost if I go into a cave or something. Okay. Well, I guess now you're the town cat. But we need to start working. You guys have given me a ton of suggestions, a lot of things I want to do, and I want to work on all of them. Of course, the main goal is to expand the suburban area, and I already have an idea for that. But you also asked to be included in the graveyard, and we're going to work on that first before I forget. Hello, the door to this is gone. That's strange. Wait, this requires investigation. Who's sneaking about? Well, it doesn't look like the caskets themselves have been disturbed, but that's disturbing, to say the least, don't you think? Alright, let's go grab. You'll see we have a whole lot of additional blocks, because I've gone ahead and installed, like, I don't even know how many I added. Actually, you know what? I don't even know how... Pig, how do you get in here? Oh, probably the big open gate, huh? Alright, fair play. Anyways, I guess I probably should at this point just show on screen, since we've changed it, what mods we're working with here. So I like Macaw's Bridges so much, I've gone ahead and installed every Macaw's mod that's available. We've got... I don't even know at a glance which of these is different, but, you know, we've got a handful that add different blocks and furniture, and everything just looking a lot better. So, if we look under doors again, I don't remember what type was here, but we've got a lot more available to us, including, like, saloon doors. I'll be honest, I've recorded a little bit more of the Z Liminex pack since we've installed, and I also had a look to see which of those were available for this version. I think it's the Bone Wither door. There we are. Okay, now... we need to start working out a new crypt area. And I think a good practice here would be to cheat the bounds of this place a little bit. Oh yeah, look at this. Alright, another mod that I've installed is one that allows us to change the placement of stairs, so that should give us a lot more options as far as detailing. Only problem... I'm gonna have to get used to that because it makes it a little bit tougher to place them, and they were already not the easiest. Oh, look at this. It not only provides that placement option for stairs, but also for slabs and other things as well. That's going to be tremendously useful. Okay, we just got an upgrade. Hang on, if only I can go like that. There we go. And if we choose a chest... I think these are going to be different caskets, you know, more for outside viewing. Put you there, and how do we do this in the other place? You there, you there. That is going to take some getting used to. And you there. There we go. I think a design like this probably works a little bit better. And now we can just kind of rinse and repeat as many times as we want here. We could do stuff like that, make it seem like there's a little bit more of a texture to it. And that's the kind of thing that I really have to think about more when I'm doing this, is just the texture that's going to come across in the various surfaces. Because that's something I've never really done before, and I'm kind of learning as I go with this game. Problem is, it doesn't really connect with the stairs as I'd like, but that's not a big deal. See, I always find the toughest choices aren't the ones where you have to decide which thing looks good. The toughest are when you think, both of these ideas look good, and I have to choose which one I want to do. And I think this actually gets the desired result across better than these stairs, especially when combined with the railings. So there we go. It's going to just be more like that, and then that'll look better once we have the sides done. Like so. Because to me, that gives the impression of like a wall that kind of ebbs and flows, you know, recedes in certain places. And that's more what these things tend to look like. I was inspired to make this literally when I saw something like it in Stalker 2. Now, it might seem probably a security risk that over here, outside of the church grounds, is a place where you could very easily dig down, not even dig down, and see the ceiling of the crypt. But honestly, I do think that grave robbing is an industry that could really use a win right now. So we'll just cover this up as best we can afterwards. There we are. Construction on the crypt is complete. And that's total bodies held 38. So we're going to be adding a whole ton of names to this later. I think the only thing we probably still need to do is put a little bit of railing on it, right? So let's just go up here, make sure the little old ladies don't fall down when coming to visit. And that looks pretty good. I have so many ideas around here. In fact, one of you even suggested we give the librarian here, I guess effectively the real priest, a mortuary. I think that's a really good idea. And I already have some inspiration on what it would look like. In order for this to be here, we're going to have to open up a section of the back wall. And of course do some more clearing, which is going to be a little bit annoying. That's alright. And I'm going to use these tough bricks because it's just sort of dull and bare, which is exactly what we need for this mortuary. I'm going to have to find some reference material online for the exact specifics. Some of you guys had told me about the idea of actually layering stained glass in order to get a certain effect, and I think here is a place where something like that would actually be beneficial. Now granted, it may not work in the way we want because I need to set up the windows like this. I wonder if some of you are starting to see what I'm going for here. If we go like that, we need that to be a little bit taller. We gotta get the looks first. And then we take some of this and put it behind here. And it doesn't really do much of anything, but of course we're not layering stained glass there, so it's not quite what you suggested. If we go like that... maybe it only works with different types. We've got our front facade, had to ditch the buttons for our pressure plate, which isn't the most secure thing. And those who know what I'm doing here know that this really needs security. Somebody suggested last time using vines to make things look more aged, and I always thought that, like, vines don't really look super great in Minecraft, but you know what? I think these are actually affected somewhat by the autumn texture pack, and I really like them, and they add some, like, dynamic movement to the place. So actually, I think, yeah, that's something we're probably going to use a lot of going forward. I'm going to have to go revisit the abandoned house. All right, start working on the interior. Wow, putting in ceiling tiles is even more annoying than it used to be now that I have to be more precise. But I think it'll all be worth it in the end, especially once we start using this for detailing. It's one of those things where, like, it just feels so wrong when you see it in Minecraft, because it's something that is, like, at a fundamental level not what was there before. But it's a convenience you really, really appreciate. I mean, look, we can do stuff like that. I mean, granted, we probably won't be able to place anything, like, immediately in front of it, no. But we can do it. We can even extend it out a bit. Here we go. Here's where we're gonna start utilizing this. Perfect, perfect. There's our crematory. Could probably use some additional detailing, but this is looking pretty good. This isn't quite the use case I had intended for this, but it does work. So part of, what mod is this? I don't know, there's some additional lights mod that I got. And I think this iron standing torch goes perfectly for our crematory exhaust. Now we just need a little bit more in the way of detailing. So let's put some vines around. I'd say now's a pretty good time for another stroll in the graveyard. After all, I've just finished updating the patrons who are included here. And these are chosen more or less at random. I had said before that I might do like more elaborate graves for longer time contributors, but the more I'm looking at this, the more I realize that, like, you know, it's hard choices, and in order to make it more fair, it's pretty much just going to be like anybody goes wherever, and I'm going to design it however is best suited to make it look nice. So any name can end up anywhere, and if you want to be included, just let me know. I can't get everyone to fit in here, but if you want to be here, just tell me. Best place to do that would be at the Discord by pinging me, especially in the Patrons Lounge, or just messaging me directly on Patreon, because if you just comment on the video, I might not see it. But anyway, we've got some more graves up here. Different types of memorials. The hardest thing is figuring out how to kind of make variety. Untrusted Life's grave is looking a little worse for wear. It's a bit unmaintained, but some say that's how he would have wanted it. Anyway, obviously most of them have been added to the crypt itself. We've got to get a nice ramp or staircase to get up here. Right now, it's a little bit out of the way. Pig is visiting their best buddy Knifa. And yeah, so as you can see, Discord, I had to turn off streamer mode in order to put these in a helpful Google Sheets project. And here we are. All told, we have added an additional 40 plus patrons, and I'd say that's a pretty good haul. Now, I do have further plans for this. Obviously, there's always more we can do at the graveyard. This is going to be one of those projects that just keeps getting updated as we go. Seems lots of animals are starting to move in. You scared the crap out of me. But I do think you're probably going to like your new mortuary. Even if you do have to hire somebody to do it. I don't think the priest is usually the mortician around here. But here we are. We just kind of walk through the graveyard, and in the back we may find a light. A small little structure overgrown with vines. And we step inside. Bodies are worked on right here, prepared to go in the grave. Or, if the family wants something a little bit different, they can be cremated. Yeah, so if you haven't figured it out by now, or if you don't know the reference, this is the mortuary from Return of the Living Dead, which is one of my favorite movies ever. And normally we should have like a door back here, and it's hard to find reference material, but then there's a whole like hallway and an office and a chapel. I figured it didn't really need to have that because, well, the church is right over there. But maybe I'll expand it in the future. I certainly could, and I would love to. But you know me, I like to bounce around between different projects so I don't get bored. And I'm pretty happy with how this one came out. These new blocks are helping a tremendous amount. Kitty. The next thing I was thinking about is, of course, expanding the neighborhood, and I think this little dip right here is a good place to put you know, a handful of houses. It's actually more space than it looks like. So let's come around over here and start expanding this road out. Some of you guys suggested making it cobblestone. World edit would be something to do if we wanted to change it. I just kept thinking that if we use cobblestone... Hang on. We'll see how that looks. We'll do a little demonstration. You can check it out, kitty. I'm not opposed to it. We're gonna leave it for now. I like the idea of the street looking pretty uniform. Okay, I believe that's the grid of our neighborhood basically planned. So we're gonna have like houses facing this way and this way and this way and this way in this little square, and then more or less the same through here. And this will be like our first little neighborhood. Of course, we can also have houses surrounding the sides, and everything in the middle is gonna get kind of flattened out so we can build. This is going to be our best opportunity, instead of taking it one by one, to just have a whole bunch of houses and introduce a whole bunch of life. Of course, we're also going to have to add some commercial so that they can have jobs and routines and all that. Because if anything, it seems like they're kind of bored right now. Got a whole playground here and everything. I don't know why they'd ever want to work. Oh, and another idea that you guys had long had is the idea of naming streets with signs and then giving each thing an address. I think that's an amazing idea, not only because it'll feel like a more realistic town, but it'll make every house feel unique. You know, in a time when I can't put like the maximum level of detail and creativity into each one, it'll give it a sense of like community and identity, I feel like. So we'll just put down numbers for now. I'll put down streets later. However, I am going to go with your suggestion and probably have this be Founders Street. And there's all manner of different things we can do with these. We can put that right next to the door, or we could have them at the street, either or. Example, you here, you've got that, so you can be... you would probably be 4. You can be 3. And I'll put it this way so that you can see it when you're coming down the road. Or you know what? No. If you're a spruce house, you can't have a spruce sign. So let's go for an oak sign. Oh wait, no. Wait. I have an even better idea. You'll be 6. You will be 5, but you'll be a different type of sign. Because there's no reason you can't do whatever you want with this stuff. There we are. No, oh wow, we can angle these signs. Not what I want to do right now, but it is interesting for the future. I've started debated the idea of making these things each glow with ink sacs. I'm kind of torn on it at the moment. Somehow you ended up as a blacksmith, or oh, you're probably working over there. But all in all, I'm just glad to see people are settling in, having a good time here. I can't wait to populate it even further. I want to smooth this out so that I can build houses. The difficult thing here is gonna be making it so that... Oh, I was gonna say, I don't want to make it so that I completely negate the terrain. Hello. It's the hideout under the playground. I'd completely forgotten that that was partly exposed. We can fix that. This looks really weird being so clear-cut like this, but it should provide plenty of room for us to build a handful of houses to stick in here. So let's get to work. The first ones are going to be facing the road. All this being built right in the shadow of the spooky house. Alright, kitty, you gonna watch the construction? It's really funny, like, you followed me over here, but I can't get you to follow me when I want you to. Which I guess is realistic cat behavior. This is the first house on the block, and I'm trying to get like a decent variety, but the problem with having variety in terms of the types of blocks a house is built with is that they need to fit in while being different, and that's hard to do. I'm thinking that in somewhat darker lighting I can make this work, but I may replace the walls. Once you start trying to put in the floors, you can see all the area that we paved over. Well, this is actually a cave. How cool is that? Like, just think about that. Sooner or later, somebody's gonna come and buy this house, be doing some renovations, and then find that just beneath the floorboards, there's an old cave leading to who knows where. Isn't that just such a classic horror story, too? I mean, that's the kind of thing that you hear about. Like, I remember a story a long time ago of when they redid the carpets and found, like, a whole ancient well. So many possibilities. Oh, wow, we can achieve some weird shapes. Ooh, that actually kind of helps. Hang on, how do we achieve that? Do we go like that? There we go. We have a whole bunch of new lights to choose from. We have a whole bunch of lamps we can use. Let's try one of these. Oh, look at that! Look at that! We just have ceiling lights! That is awesome. Okay, that is going to make things so much easier. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. Hi-hats. Hi-hats in the corners. What more do you want? We can put them on any surface. Our abilities have expanded so much with a few simple mods. I'm thinking this looks pretty good. Alright. And now on to the next. We need to do this, like, what, a dozen more times for this neighborhood to be complete? You guys want to see something really cursed? So I want this to be a room, I want this to be other stuff, and I want to have an upstairs. Problem is, I don't want to take up a whole lot of this without taking up a whole lot of this. So what we can maybe do is go, slab, we'll look in the slabs category, look at dark oak slabs. Now we can do something as horrible as this. Oh my god, what am I doing? What kind of abomination upon God's creation is this? Anyways, we have some pretty interesting looking doors here. We can put that there. Oh wow, you won't come to this side? Wait, what if we... That's... Oh, I see, because you don't want to be clipping into it. Alright, that makes more sense. And what else do we have in the door world? I find myself spending an agonizing amount of time picking these out when I should probably be moving. But this strikes me as the residence of some fairly private people, maybe. After all, they've got a room with red carpet. There we are. Now we've just got to fancy this up a bit. Not having corners is fancy. This thing is now kind of suffering from a problem known as house too tall. But I think we're not really going to worry about it that much. Let's just break open some extra windows. That's the issue, is that we need to figure out how to break these things up, and it's hard to do when you're working with such limited space. But it shouldn't be too bad. Just put some of that there. Maybe we'll replace this with a different kind of glass for privacy. I'm pretty satisfied with this interior. It almost seems like a lower budget Keeping Up with the Joneses situation, where like the overall style of this is almost trying to compete with the abandoned house up the road. Only difference, this one has an opportunity for an actual chandelier. Alright, so that's 2 houses down. If we really wanted, we could even go like this, you know, just to give something on the sides. Because when I'm placing windows, like, I want to give the surfaces some kind of features, but I also have to make sure that there's actually a reason for it to be there, and they don't just end up staring at a wall, or even worse, directly into somebody else's window. So having one side just covered in ivy might be a good middle ground. There we are. Just make sure it spills over the side a bit. Perfect. And just have it say 8 right there on the side. Probably not the most convenient thing to see from the street, but I sort of like the style. Okay, moving on. Whoever this is going to become an unlucky neighbor. I'm thinking we also build this one a bit shorter, too. You know, so that this window can overlook and see into the window. But this... It's always when you turn around and see, oh wow, it's coming together, that you think, oh yeah, here we are. And that's the thing about Creative Worlds, is that in the beginning, it feels like you're just building these random disjointed projects in a void. And every once in a while you turn around and go, oh no, this is starting to form its whole. Okay, I'm not sure why that happened. I was just going to check up on this place. Why? I guess we'll recess that door a bit. Is it because of a change to how blocks work? I've opened doors before. Oh wait, you're not supposed to be on? Huh. Starting to think this place really is haunted. You know what? Here's a cool idea for a local legend. You know, the local kids, they know about the spot in the back where you can climb under the wall and get inside. It's been explored and hung out in by just about every kid around. But one thing that they can't explain is that every so often, they do see the light of the chandelier glowing through those stained glass windows, and on some nights, there does seem to be smoke coming from the chimney. But there's never a fire in the fireplace when someone investigates. This little guy right here needs a dedicated rain room. I think that's pretty clear right now. And we're going to start making use of more of these different blocks. So if we combine you with you, we'll see how this looks. I'm thinking that this is somebody who just loves to be here in the rain. In fact, somebody who loves the spooky. In fact, maybe is even interested in ghosts and hauntings. And so just loves to feel watched every time they're staring up. Maybe we go for something more wool-like here. After all, this is where the bed is gonna go. There we go. That way you're just kind of looking up at the raindrops whenever it storms, and, you know, glancing downward to see a shadow moving in the windows. There we go, we can group a bunch of things there. Maybe that'll give us the lighting we need. It doesn't provide much, but it does give us just a little bit of a glow. And I think that's what's needed. Never mind the fact that they're not even in any kind of holder, and this is a wood house with wool carpets. It's all about the comfiness. And there we go. There's a block completed. Hey, kitty, you wanna go live in a cool house? Why did I think you would follow me? Actually, this will probably look a little bit better if we place this with panels. Mainly because it'll make it so that there's just a little bit more depth to the surface. I mean, I've always done it so that, like, it's only really glass blocks when it has to be, which is when you're kind of trying to build a structure out of them. So any other time, it should probably just be panels. Roping off the streets with fences does kind of help me to visualize, like, what the actual shape of the houses is going to be. But I still think it's really funny that I'm basically doing zoning in Minecraft right now. Ooh, look at this. We are actually building directly on top of the hidden play area. Well, ain't that interesting? And it's really funny that, like, 2 out of the 5 houses on this block are going to have just something interesting buried directly beneath their floor. Let's try this one, the dark modern door. It's kind of cool looking. And we can put some glass panes in here. You know, with the stone trim and ceiling and all that, I'm thinking that this would be right to have a fireplace, would it not? There we go, that's working perfectly. I love this mod. It makes placing things a lot slower and more annoying, but it gives you so many more opportunities for detailing. Back. Macaw's fences and walls also gives us a whole bunch of additional fences we can use. There we go. We can use that. And we're going to want to finish all this off with campfires, which are probably the best way to do this without having to build the house around not burning it down. We'll have those burning there. And, oh, look at that. We actually can see the smoke rising up from that distance. We don't need to have additional decorative ones further up. That's nice. There, perfect. Now we have a solution where this can have a window on this side without being too creepy. Or actually, To what extent does it actually succeed at not being creepy? Because it's even worse if you're standing on a chair to do it. Whatever. Point is, this house is done. And I have realized I've actually screwed up the numbers because I feel like they should be alternating. So we'll change that up a bit. So you'll be 7, 8. You're the new 9. And then at the end of the block is... Actually, no. This will be 10. So you'll be 11. I'm really happy with how this is working out. But somebody's got to have some yard space. We can maybe even have room for a pond in the back. I'm liking this alcove. Literally just a koi pond. Like, I looked at this and I couldn't see it as anything but. So there we go. We've got some tropical fish. Not the best of conditions, but in real life that would probably be enough. Probably. I don't know, I'm not a fish expert. Hey, what are you doing out there? People really are just wandering now, huh? I guess we may as well preemptively place a handful of villagers. I mean, how many beds do we have in each thing? I think there's like 2 in here, 1 across the street, another 2 in here, 1 in there, 1 in there. So just like that, the population is exploding. People are starting to walk around and socialize. It's really great to see a community come together like this. Still though, as much as I love to see a community come together, I think I'm kind of going to move on from this for now. I mean, I do obviously have a lot more houses to build, but I think it'll be a good idea to start working on a commercial area. Hello, kitty. Look at you getting trapped in there. Well, it's your fault for spawning there. I want to at least plan out where we're going to put the commercial stuff, and I think that means we're going to extend the road further past the church, and in that little basin over there, that's where we're going to place it. And what better place to start than with a city hall? We're not going to build directly off the road, because of course there's got to be a nice path leading up to it, a little mall, so to speak. And we also don't want something too tall right next to the church on the horizon. So we're going to make sure, and because of a feature I had planned, we want to make sure that it's sort of like middle symmetry. So like, for example, I don't know what words to describe this, but like, you know, we don't want this, we want this, you know? Here, we can make use of some of the new blocks we have. I believe this is from Macaw's Pathways. And we can take these regular stone blocks and spruce them up with cobblestone to pave them. And this is going to be the walkway leading up to Town Hall. This is a lot of downtime, because a lot of this is just trying to figure out the dimensions of how this is going to work before it becomes a problem. But I'd say we're doing okay so far. You know, the measurements are working out. I'm sort of starting to see what I want. So we've got that, and now we're going to use something like Macaw's Fences and Walls to put up stuff like that. There we go. Now that's official looking. And I think combining this bright-looking brick with more dark details is how we're going to give this thing its identity. Now here's something interesting. Brick walls will merge with stained glass. For that matter, I guess then any type of wall will, so that's something we'll have to consider. There we go. That's actually, I like that. What happens if we put it underneath? There we go. There's some face detailing. Detailing is hard to do, but this is probably the most opportunity I've ever had to detail the face of a building, and I'm kind of doing my best here. Hopefully it turns out like how I expect, but I'm really glad that these new blocks are really cooperating. This is what I really always wanted from building mods. This is the kind of thing I mean when I say I want Minecraft to have a vanilla creative update. Stuff like this. So, there's our front facade. Obviously not completely complete. There's going to be another floor with a feature that I'm really excited for. But problem now is, I don't know what goes inside a town hall. Obviously wainscoting. Obviously, it's an old building. There's our entrance hall. Question now is, now what? Well, look, this is 10 blocks, so we were to break open use and use. That would give us use. Let's just put our lanterns right on the front there. That's looking nice. Thing is, we need this to sort of more cone shape towards the top, so we need to start working on our second layer. It's going to extend further back. Obviously, there's going to be like rooms and stuff towards the back. I'm trying to think of what like the backstory for this place is going to be, because it won't have been built as town hall. I'm thinking maybe it'll be the original mansion of the town's founder. I mean, we have our mayor's house all the way over on that street, but I don't know. If this really was the home of the person who started all this, you could have some sort of artifact features in the house and maybe some secrets to be found. Really, the only way to know if stuff is working or not is to just every once in a while pull back and see how it looks from a distance. And mixed thoughts on how this is coming out. I'm thinking I'm probably... Maybe I'll extend the mud brick to these lower windows. The important thing here is cohesion. Put more detailing on the side. That'll give it that sort of ribbed look that I like. There we go. Yeah, that definitely helps sort of increase its profile from a distance. Pearlescent frog light. Is that vanilla? Is it really? Hang on, what does that do? Because currently I'm looking for a backing for what is to be the main feature of this. It actually is just bright. You know what? This might be precisely what I was looking for. It even seems to come in different varieties. So we might demo this with a couple of different things, but this is kind of going to be the hard part. Because right now what we need to do is have a circle in Minecraft. Wow, that is blindingly bright, but I think it's just what I need. There we go, we've set that in there. And here's where our construction planning is going to come into play. Now, if we look at our fences, we'll need something dark. Dark oak fence might do it. What else do we have under macaws? Okay, so if it's just perpetually midnight and we don't bother with trying to have a second hand, this looks pretty good. If we do, unfortunately it will create the fence, and that looks less good, less line-like. Maybe there's some kind of solution. But I think for now we'll save it. We have our own little clock tower. And that I like quite a bit. Maybe we'll try it with the different kind. I feel like that maybe fits a little bit better, but I don't know, it may not look quite as good by day. Move over church. We have a new tallest tower in town. Even if it is... Actually, even better, because you're up on that hill. So, yeah, I guess technically this is taller, even if it sits a little lower. There we go. I was so tempted to have it facing across the river that way, but I figure if we're going to do stuff like in other directions, it's important to have more of a feature looking this way. You know, when it's on midnight like that, it looks kind of like an eye slit staring at us. Now the time has come to begin working on the interior, and I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with this. I'm kind of starting to build it in the sense of like, okay, this is a government building now, but it was once a home. So we need to figure out what kind of artifacts are left in the construction from that. Alright, we've got a dining hall here, which I guess in the current day would serve as like a meeting room for all the town executives and such. There we go. I really want to extend the walls a little bit. It's looking a little bit cramped in here, but we're also running out of space quite quickly. But even now, see, like, look at what a difference even half a block makes in terms of space. That's incredible. This is a huge thing to have in this. This is the hard part. It's just kind of planning out how the rooms are going to be laid out, make sure everything is symmetrical and mathematically consistent. In other words, this is the part I am the absolute worst at. There we go. It's all about preventing those foundational mistakes. Obviously, a dining hall this splendid is going to need to have a balcony overlooking it, otherwise what's the point? I'm also doing this because we need some way to access the upper rooms. Let's go, go, go. I made the decision to sort of scrunch this thing inward by a couple blocks in the back, just so that it wouldn't look like this huge hulk just cleaving its way through the area. And I have been suffering for it ever since. We are in really, really tight quarters here. I always think I have enough space. I always think I have so much. I'm going to struggle to fill it. And I end up having the opposite problem. It's all very slow going, but things are taking shape. It at least looks like an actual building from the exterior now, but I want a little bit more. Right now we have... Let me get inside so I can show you what I mean. So right now we have our front entry hall. We have the sort of dining / meeting area. But we've also got all these little rooms off to the side. My thinking is that these will have been former guest or staff rooms. So we'll probably have like beds and stuff in here collecting dust because they don't really have any use in the modern day. Or you know what? Maybe on the lower floors they can be like offices and stuff. But the upper floors are what's sort of left abandoned. Kind of spooky here, but we do have some rear-facing windows that are kind of more prone to nice sunsets. You know, I was just thinking, maybe we could do something cool here. I don't actually know if this would work the way I think it would, but if we were to take, say, a light sensor, put you here. Oh, this is not going to work the way I think. And a bell. Well, we can ring. This isn't going to work right because it's going to be receiving a continuous signal from this thing. And I was thinking, like, maybe you could set it so that when night falls, or maybe when day breaks, it'll ring the bell. There's probably a way to do that. I'm not going to mess with it too much right now. It's just important to know that it's there. Ooh, wait. Oh, that's just a regular thing. Okay. Yeah, every once in a while, you just gotta take the jankiness and make sure that you do something with it. I don't know, those awkward spots are opportunities, I think. But now we have a decent enclosure here. But the problem is, I'm trying to make this into like the master's quarters, you know? Up here would be the founder's main room. So what do we put here? Look at that. The bed frame of the founder left here as an artifact. And it always feels like there's a bit of a presence about it, like maybe its owner never really left. There is a very stupid sheep trapped down here. Come on, sheep, you can use this to get out. I'm giving you an opportunity here. Right this way. No, you'd rather stay stuck forever? Really? Come on. Look. There you go. Right here. Right here. Come on. It's like trying to get a fly to go out the window. Okay, well, I'm going to leave that spot open for you if you want to use that one. In the meantime, I am going to make sure that the manicured grounds of Town Hall are manicured. Let's leave this the way it is. Also, if any leaves fall on it, I'm not doing anything about that. First time seeing it by morning's light, and while I do wish there was less glow coming from the clock, it's, I guess, better than not having any. I do want it to be visible at night, and the textures for the glowstone are not quite where I want them. Maybe there's a solution to be had for that in the future, but if we get out and just do a little fly around, I think it definitely comes across as like an old manor. Maybe the clock tower was added a little bit later, but it's all been repurposed and good to go. Oh, and most importantly, you need to be able to see what it's like from elsewhere. So, for example, if you were on this guy's back porch, let's see what he's up to. There we are. You can always see it peeking up over the bridge. We're starting to develop a little bit of a skyline. What about from the bridge? Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. Especially since with the sun in your eyes like this, you almost can't tell the building from the terrain, except for the glow from the clock. Right now this building is isolated, but the plan is to have the street move kind of around it, and it's going to go around it in both ways. And we're just kind of going to fill the surrounding area with all kinds of commercial. We'll probably start working on that next time. In the meantime, I have spent like 5 hours in this session, 2 something in the previous, so yeah, a lot of time that gets cut. But we've been pretty productive. At the end of every episode, I kind of like to take inventory. We've added over 40 new patrons in the Crypt and some new graves. We built the Mortuary from Return of the Living Dead. We've got Town Hall, obviously, is the biggest thing. And 5 new houses on the block over here, as well as the zoning completed. Let's just get some lighting in this dusty old attic that's really only used these days when changes have to be made to the clock tower. Yeah, all this stuff. All original features when you know it, never removed. I guess it's kind of figured that it's town tradition to keep this place as a sort of shrine, almost like a crypt, considering the founder's body was never found after he went missing. But it's probably nothing to worry about. When you finish building something and its structure complete, there's so many crosses to dot and T's to I, but if we come down here, we should be able to finish off the last of all this. Yep. It's just that these new blocks we're working with make it so weird to build with. Because there's so many new angles you have to account for, and you sort of, over the years, develop a muscle memory for what will work in what circumstances, and having all this stuff here, while giving me way more options, kind of throws all of that off. That was creepy. I mean, it's cool, it seems like my thing worked. But I've been building this for days in-game, and that's the first time it's worked. Maybe it's just the first time I was close enough to hear it, but that's still, I'm not gonna lie, that's a little bit unsettling. Maybe this world really is starting to be haunted. Just a little bit of additional lighting. We now have a help desk in the front, sort of a visitor's center for people who come in wanting to know about the town and its history or directions. And you can actually, if you come in on the right day, you can see the town board meeting and discussing the goings-on. It's one of those towns where they pretty much just meet up to be busybodies and annoy people, so it's really just a way for the townies to get revenge. Gotta have those officials within tomato throwing distance. That's the most important thing about politics. That's how you ensure that the power's with the people. Let's just have some kind of detail on the floor, because I originally wanted to have some sort of tile mosaic in the middle, but the help desk kind of took that. And there we are. The former ballroom is what I like to imagine this is, the foyer. It makes sense considering this would be right here. And I think that's about it for me for now. There we are. See, now that we've lit this up, now this looks like an old building at night from the street. The kind of thing you pass by on your walk home. That's quite a reflection from the moon on the window. And the shadows creep as it falls below the horizon. Well, I think that's about it for me for now. All I know is that I'm really happy with how this is turning out. I cannot wait to take even more of your suggestions in the future. And I guess expand on sort of the lore and legends that we're building as we go. The way I'm coming up with this stuff is, I'm not making a conscious effort to do it. I'm just sort of looking at what ends up being the case and saying, what would be cool there? What's the first thing that pops into my head? And I think more lore around the founder is going to have to be established, as well as what secrets he may have hidden in this house. I think next time we're probably going to work on this commercial area, make sure that this whole side is fleshed out now that you can actually kind of see the town over there. Oh wow, we actually kind of can see the town over there. From a distance, it actually looks like a place people live. And that's really the stuff I'm trying to get through early on, is just making sure that there's an established border boundary to what's what. But if you like this video, Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more creepy and comfy content. If you have any ideas for other videos you think I should do, the best place to suggest that will be at the Discord, which I will link in the description. If you want to try these mods out for yourself, that link will also be in the description if I can get it to work properly. If you want to support me on Patreon, that link will be in the description. And as always, I will see you in the next one. Did you stop working? Oh wait, hang on. I have to do that other thing you guys had suggested. Do this. I can just do that right now before I forget. That way there's a little more space and we can step up. Little solutions like that. That's what it's all about. Anyway, later. Look at that. It's peeking in the window of the church now like some kind of cyclops.